This episode kinda touches my heart because even though I couldn't read minds, when I met my mother-in-law for the first time, some things were obvious. Sally is meeting John's mother Betsy for the first time and she's terrified. John says, "Don't worry, you're my wife and she'll love you."
I haven't told her yet about your ESP.
You haven't?
We do come from Salem.
So?
Well, their history for tolerance for ladies with special gifts is not too good.
Terrific.
Here she is.
Oh, she didn't bring too much luggage, John. I'll sit in the back seat. I don't mind some secrets in the front with you.
It might not be so bad. Sally can't read everybody, just some people.
Mom, this is Sally.
Sally! It's very nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, John, she's even prettier than you said she was. Oh, Sally, how I waited for this moment.
Me too.
Mrs. Burton, your package.
Oh, look at me. I almost left your gift on the bus.
Hey, it's Aunt May. Jeff Donnell was all over the place in the 70s. I think I've talked about her before, but when you encounter an attractive lady named Jeff, it gets your attention. When she was growing up, she was a huge fan of the comic strip Mutt and Jeff. These guys were a disproportionate pair. Mutt was super tall and Jeff was short. Jean Marie Donnell enjoyed the strip so much she started calling herself Jeff, and it stuck. As stage names go, it's distinctive, you have to give it that.
Well, I'll get it.
John, I've got a bulletin for you. Brace yourself. It's about ESP.
Yeah?
Just like with you.
Mom?
Don't tell the folks back in Salem, but every thought ESP.
You're kidding. You can read her mind?
Yeah,
Sally, that's great.
not exactly.
Why?
She hates every bone in my body.
When I met my future mother-in-law, we drove from our little school in central Montana to their farm in northern Wyoming. We arrived just after dark, and my wife dutifully introduced me when her parents came out to greet us. Her mother looked me up and down, didn't say a word, and went in the house. ESP wasn't needed to know what she was thinking.
Your place is just lovely, Sally.
Thank you.
And the stained glass windows, so unusual.
That's all Sally's doing.
I bet. For you.
Your favorite vase. Sally, this vase has been in the family for years. Aunt Louise gave it to her.
Oh, it's lovely. Thank you.
While Betsy steps out to do something, let's find out what she was really thinking.
You have a lovely place.
While thinking she sure got John to spend a lot of money.
The stained glass windows are so unusual.
Looks like some kind of hippie church.
Her favorite vase?
Never liked it. Or your Aunt Louise.
What's a hippie church, and how does Betsy know what one looks like?
Betsy,
Son, oh.
this chick never ages.
Jerry, you're all dressed up.
Yes, I'm fully clothed for two reasons. One, in honor of my mother's visit, and the other is I got a job with a band in about 4 minutes.
He says, "How do you like our Sally? Is she terrific or what?"
I'm warning you, watch out for her. She's irresistible, Betsy.
I never could get him to call me mother.
That's because you've always been too young to be my mother.
She's too young to be Peter Parker's Aunt May, too, but she did it. I wonder what those guys would say if they knew they're related to Spider-Man. Sally's planning dinner for the four of them the following evening, so she'll use her ESP to be irresistible to Betsy.
Children, it's been a long day for me.
For us, too.
I don't want you turning in on my account. I know the crazy hours you young people like to keep. Good night, John.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, Sally.
Good night, Mom.
Oh, you can just call me Betsy.
I never had any idea what to call my mother-in-law. Her given name was Helen, but I didn't want to call her that. See, it's also my mother's name, and two people couldn't have been more opposite. I found it impossible to wrap my head around this hatchet-faced, spiteful crone having the same name as my mom, who was probably the nicest person who ever lived. It just wouldn't click. What did I do? I kept my yap shut, that's what I did. If we had a conversation, she initiated it, not I. Or if I had to speak to her, I wouldn't try to address her. I'd just look her in the eye and say what I wanted to say. After we had our first kid, she asked to be called Grandma Louie, which was my father-in-law's name, and we all decided we could go with that. Next day, Annie is showing Betsy around the shop.
Sally, I think Mother's genuinely impressed with the store.
I think she's genuinely distressed with the store. Feels it makes me too independent.
She might have something there.
And why is that a bad thing? When I met my wife, I was working toward a degree in pastoral ministry and had visions of leading a little church somewhere. Our first morning at her parents' house, her mother asked me what my plans were, and I told her. She took her daughter aside and said, "You don't want to marry a minister. He won't be able to support himself, much less a family." I was still unmedicated at that time, and so, as I often did, I replied with the first thing that came to my mind, "Is that a reflection on what she gives to her own church and minister?" Sally has an idea. Betsy doesn't know about her ESP, so she can read Betsy's mind and start having things in common with her.
You know, Sally found a lot of them.
This is beautiful. Oh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Oh,
Starting with that, Sally steps up and says, "I'd like to give you a gift from the shop. Something like..." And she just happens to pick the plate that Betsy was admiring. Isn't that amazing?
I was thinking maybe Mom would like to go to the Silver Fox for lunch.
Oh, that's the chicest place in town.
You know, you're going to think I'm awful, but I'd like to go down to the Mexican section and have burritos and tamales and all of that Mexican soul food.
You're kidding.
well, if Sally would like to go, it's fine with me. Do they have those real hot peppers?
Woo!
John gets what Sally is doing, but whoa, who knew Betsy was into hot pepper burritos? Later at dinner, somehow Sally has managed to recreate an old family recipe of Betsy's.
But, Sally, that did surprise me. Usually goose ain't your type of thing.
Well, of course it is, Jer. Sally cooks things like that all the time.
Oh, I've been here many times. I never got no goose.
Forget it.
Oh, I catch on.
Don't catch on.
Or, if you really do manage to, shut up about it.
You got it from Betsy.
Oh, no, Jerry, I didn't tell her.
Oh, you don't have to tell her anything. You just have to think about it. You were thinking about a goose, right?
Jerry,
Well, it was on my mind. That's strange.
No, it's not strange for somebody who can read minds. You can do her, right, Sally?
Do me what?
Why doesn't Jerry ever listen when somebody tells him to shut up?
And all the other thoughts I had about you?
Please, please don't be upset. I'm used to it. I understand.
John, that's so deceitful.
no, Mother, no, it's a rare gift.
But you didn't warn me. You didn't tell me.
Well, we were afraid it might make you feel too uncomfortable.
We were wrong. We should have told you.
Oh, I just can't stay here.
Betsy is staying with Jerry for now.
Betsy, Sally keeps calling, John keeps calling.
I'm here.
You gotta make up with him sooner or later. Why don't you do it sooner?
Oh, I can't. I just can't face them.
Well, do it for my sake, then. You know what it's like for me to have to go to bed at 9 o'clock.
It's good for you to go to bed early.
But to sleep?
I don't understand this whole thing.
Yeah, but you have trouble understanding daylight saving time.
I don't understand that either.
Who doesn't love Terry Garr? We saw Amber in episode 7, and she'll appear 2 more times before we're done. Terry Garr has been entertaining us for over 50 years, despite the fact that since 1983 she's been in the fight of her life against multiple sclerosis. I have to say, assuming I'm single, she can roll in my hay anytime.
I understand it. I just don't know why they don't give it to the people all over the country, you know, instead of giving a little bit here and a little bit there.
That's not the subject.
Don't yell at your girlfriend.
That's okay. I don't mind yelling. It's a sign of passion.
You defend Amber, who you hardly even know, and you got nothing to say for Sally, your daughter-in-law?
You never told me you were married.
He isn't married. Because Sally is dishonest.
Put yourself in her place. You've been dealing with this all your life, and frankly, it's something you'd rather not have, but you're stuck with it. How many people would you go around telling about it? Especially those you really want to like you.
She isn't. She's a terrific girl. You hardly know Amber.
Well, I know she's honest.
Well, thank you.
She is what she looks like she is.
So is Sally, but Betsy's more comfortable around the dits. Jerry announces that Betsy's going home this evening. He wants to take her out to a certain restaurant, get her an aperitif or two, and then have John and Sally show up, so she has to talk to them. Sally has a slight modification.
John, I think he's got a good idea. I mean, if you show up, she'll be happy to make up with you. And then after another aperitif, then I show up.
Okay, yeah, it's worth a shot. Let's give it a try. What's the schedule, Jer?
Well, she's going on the 9:17 to Boston. Takes about a half an hour to get there.
That's 8:47.
And about an hour and 15 minutes to eat. That makes it
7:32.
You know, I never thought arithmetic was so important.
In this situation, base 6 arithmetic is even more important. Does anybody else want to go back in time and smack a few Babylonians around until they give us a system that's actually based on how many fingers we have? Some folks in the French Revolution tried to change it to a base 10 system, but to do that you have to get everybody on board. Nobody else in Europe was interested, mainly because they were all busy declaring war on France for killing their king. Not the best moment to adopt a new anything. In any case, it's going smoothly so far. Betsy is a little into her cups, Jerry is keeping her entertained, and she's delighted to see John.
I just wish now that you'd make up with Sally.
I can't.
But if only you'd give her a chance.
Oh, it isn't her, it's me. The terrible thoughts I had. The fact I didn't give her a chance. It's just too embarrassing.
Well, you know she'd understand.
I can't face her.
You'd rather carry this guilt for the rest of your life than talk to her and work it out. Betsy is into spicy Mexican food and emotional masochism. John is learning many things about his mom. Now we just need Sally.
My car won't work.
Oh, no. Take a cab.
No, look, I think I can fix it if you give me a hand.
Sure.
I probably belabor the point a little on the channel, but in 1973, you could figure out what was wrong with the car and fix it yourself in most cases. Because you could see the engine, unlike the situation today. Soon enough, it's purring away. She needs to hurry.
Officer, I realize I was going too fast. I've never gotten a ticket before. I'm sorry, I was wrong, so why don't you just give me the ticket, okay?
Little lady, it's not a question of being wrong. There's a safety factor involved here.
I promise I'll never do it again.
Just remember, the life you save may be your own. Yeah, I kind of like that.
He should. It was adopted as a slogan for safe driving for a while. The line is actually the title of a Flannery O'Connor book, but it's been borrowed just about everywhere. I gather our cop doesn't get out much. And now Sally has to listen to a 10-minute lecture about the importance of safe driving. Few people could pull off an extensive line of hogwash of that kind like Ronnie Shell. We've seen him many times, and really, the guy was a comedic genius. He used everything he had, his appearance, his voice, his overall demeanor, even his resting face became a tool for his humor. Watch him in Gomer Pyle USMC and you'll see what I mean. Meanwhile, Betsy is ready to leave and insists they head for the bus.
Officer, look, maybe I ought to just be honest with you. I just met my mother-in-law just recently, and, well, we didn't get along real well, and I have this ESP thing where I can read people's minds, and I had never met her before.
Lady, you want to step out of the car?
Now she gets to do the whole battery of sobriety tests. He finally concludes she's not drunk, just crazy, and lets her go.
Let's go. Go aboard.
I'll say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
I'm sorry about Sally.
I'm just sorry you didn't see what a wonderful girl she is.
Sally, where have you been?
Meet me in Pasadena.
What?
Pasadena, the first stop to be Pasadena.
You know, you could get in trouble for that. No ticket. But tonight, our driver doesn't seem to care. That's good, because I get the feeling Harrison Ford could pick her up and throw her like a javelin.
just materialized.
No, that only happens in Salem. I ran.
You're full of surprises.
Well, I'd like to stop surprising and start apologizing.
I'm so ashamed.
As she should be. She knew what she did was wrong, and at first her big problem was she got caught.
No, you shouldn't be. I was the one who was wrong.
I didn't want to like you. I guess I was jealous. I didn't know what to expect.
Sally knows that. In fact, she told John about it last night. Just like John, Betsy is an open book to her. Must be genetic.
Well, I never showed you the real me.
Well, how could you, knowing how I felt?
Well, I should have anyway. Instead, I just pretended to be somebody I thought you'd like. I guess I didn't trust you enough. Or me enough.
But I was worse.
No, I lied. And I wouldn't blame you if you never forgave me.
Sally, don't argue with your elders. If I said I was worse, I was worse.
Okay, you were worse.
It's true. She came into it with a chip on her shoulder, and when Sally realized that, she went on a campaign to win Betsy over. She knows now she went about it the wrong way. But if Betsy wants to insist that she was worse, as she said, don't argue with your elders. And they do have one big thing in common.
We both really love John.
Can you still read my mind?
And I'd like that very much.
I'm sad to say my mother-in-law never got to that point. In fact, I used to say some guys tell mother-in-law jokes. I have one. While we were at their place that first time, one morning I took a shower. Towels were hanging on the rack right there, so I used one. Next thing I know, I'm getting the third degree about it because those towels are purely for decoration. The ones you use are in the cupboard over there. Everybody knows that. Then we sat down to eat, and she discovered that I cut my meat with my left hand. Between those two things, she literally called me a barbarian. So I decided if I'm going to wear the name, I may as well play the game. Prepare to be pillaged! Go get them. Done. Sally show up. Take her out for hogwash of that. Betsy feels more comfortable around the dits. Okay.